I think I found it pretty surprising and important that you mentioned China's increase in life expectancy during the Mao years. But isn't it also important to consider the simultaneous development of, say, Taiwan, South Korea, and Singapore, Hong Kong? I mean, surely they outpaced Chinese development in those years. And you can also compare, say, Austria versus Czechoslovakia, East versus West Germany, North versus South Korea, and so on. So has a communist system ever outperformed a capitalist system economically?
Well, I mean, the comparison, it's a fair question. The comparison that has to be made is between China and India, because they are at comparable stages of development in 1948 and 1949. That's a very useful comparison to make. We can talk about Taiwan, we can talk about Korea. Those were countries in which there had been a huge inflow of foreign capital. Those are countries which suffered, incredible which underwent very rapid industrialization and very rapid urbanization. So huge swaths of the population that had lived in the countryside came into the cities. As I said, there was huge investment, and the expansion and the extension of life expectancy that took place was also coincident with growing polarization in society and the kinds of environmental crises that we're seeing. And it was not based on an all-around development of the kind that I'm talking about in China. In India, if we take two societies that were at comparable stages of development, I mentioned the Amartya Sen calculation, about 4 million people per year who died needlessly because India had that kind of development. In India, you did not have the kind of change in the countryside. In India, you have economic development. Here, let me just tell you, during the 10 years of the Cultural Revolution, China's industry grew at an average annual rate of 10%. Its agriculture grew at an average annual rate of about 3%, just under 3%, kept pace with and slightly exceeded the population growth. And this was development that had a qualitative dimension. As I said, the spreading of technology and cultural and technical resources throughout the society. So it's not the case that China was just simply outperformed by every other country in the world. But there's a question of the quality of growth. In other words, Mao was not fixated on rapid spurts of development, such as occurred in Korea and Taiwan. There's a question of the actual quality of growth. Are people in this process of development gaining greater mastery over the processes, not just of production and technology, but are they actually taking greater responsibility for running society, for administering society? Are you overcoming income gaps? Are you overcoming the gaps between those who are managing factories and those who are working in factories? In other words, the yardsticks that Mao put forward for growth were based on what he called overcoming the three great differences in China between town and country, worker and peasant, agriculture, and mental and manual labor. These were the yardsticks by which they were measuring their success. If you simply measure success in terms of gross output, in terms of GDP, you are not getting at the actual quality of this growth. And in terms of life expectancy and the health of that population, there is no match between India and China in the socialist period in China. India does not stand up to the Chinese achievement. That's a fact.